Today's episode is presented by Early Bird. Early Bird is the simplest way for parents, families, and friends to collectively invest in a child's financial future, starting at the earliest age. Early Bird's mobile app empowers parents and families to start saving for their child's financial future in a matter of minutes, while activating a child's broader community to gift contributions on, birthdays, holidays, any occasion. Realistically, as a parent and somebody who has had to deal with having a family-funded child issue, it's never too early to start saving. And realistically, this is a great idea because you can, instead of saying, oh, well, here's $5 in cash in your birthday card, little Johnny, you can actually put the money away and invest it. And maybe when it's time for them to go to college or to go out and get out on their own if they're not going to go to college, or if you need bail money, I don't know how your kid's going to turn out. The point is, it's never too early to start developing financial literacy. I wish somebody would have taken me off to the side when I was a young parent and said, put away money now for your kid's future. You won't regret it. We're teaming up with Early Bird to give our listeners a free $15 investment to gift to a child you love. Simply go to partners.getearlybird.io/podcast, or to make it easier, click the link in the show notes, download the app, set up your account today. Early Bird. Build the nest and invest in the children you love. The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off. Welcome to I Had to Say It, the podcast where I talk about things that I feel need talking about, and sometimes they're not getting the attention they deserve. And your feelings, they're not under consideration. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode I Had to Say It. There's been a lot going on these last few days. Last couple of weeks, last couple of months, the world's still in its tailspin, crazy ass, things going sideways. Everybody's pointing the finger, and to quote a cheesy ass bumper sticker I think I read somewhere, remember, when you're pointing the finger, you're pointing 3 back at yourself. Yeah, think about that for a second. It's cheesy, but it's not entirely wrong. So, there's a lot going on these days, and a lot of stuff that realistically we need to talk about. I need to talk about. I mean, it may not really be a we. It's a me issue, not a we issue. But I need to talk about this stuff. I got to get it off my chest. That's the whole point of this show. And one of the first, the huge thing, the elephant in the fucking room at this point is the clusterfuck that is the American withdrawal from Afghanistan. Now, I never thought we really should have been over there for the amount of time we were over there in the first place. The fact of the matter is, we should have brought the troops home a long time ago. The problem I have with the way things were handled is they weren't fucking handled. It was the most clusterfuck thing I have heard of probably in my lifetime. I mean, I'd say the pulling out of Vietnam and the fall of Saigon were probably pretty similar in terms of what a shit show it actually was. But I wasn't there for that, so we'll just call this the biggest shit show of a military withdrawal in my lifetime. And the simple fact of the matter is, yes, we should have been out of there, but it should have been handled and orchestrated in such a way that basically it was so mismanaged, so poorly handled, that we essentially left the people we went there to fight in the first place, the Taliban, who by all definitions of decent human being really fall short of the fucking mark. I mean, I know they think they're living their best life according to their beliefs, and they believe in Sharia law, which is some of the most oppressive and just harsh way to live. But all the people who are trying to deny that this was an absolute shit show and basically spitting in the face of everyone who went over there and fought and sacrificed, and all the people who died in the name of going over there trying to dispose these motherfuckers. They're back in power, and they're better armed than they ever were before because they've got literally billions of dollars of American hardware that was left behind by an incompetent management system. It was piss poor handling by on the part of the people who were supposed to be, I can't lay it all at the feet of the incompetent asshole in the White House, but he is the guy who signs off on this shit. That is the part of the job title that people always forget. Commander-in-Chief does not mean God of the country. It means the Chief Executive Officer of the Armed Forces for the United States of America. The guy who has been commissioned and sworn to handle the protection of this country. It's supposed to be, he's the final sign-off on these kind of decisions. So to the irritation of a lot of left-wing supporters, I am going to lay the blame at this asshole's feet. It was a clusterfuck. There was not a reasonable transition of power. There was not a, well, we need to do this in a way that does not just hand all this shit over to people that want to see us dead. But there's really hasn't been any decisions coming out of the White House in the last 8 months that I've been impressed with. Not a fucking one. When the primary agenda of the administration in power right now was to completely undo everything done by the prior administration, and then the one thing they didn't undo was the shitty rollout of leaving Afghanistan. Oh, yeah, you can cancel every other policy that was put into place, via votes and executive orders and all this other shit. And you still leave this as a clusterfuck, and then you either try and say it's not your fault or just ignore it like it didn't fucking happen. It's a fucking disgrace. And anybody who says was handled well or that's just how it had to be is either delusional or fucking lying to themselves and you. And it's it made me sad. It's a bad sign when jets are leaving the airport and people are trying to ride off on the fucking wings of the jets rather than stay and face what you're leaving them to. And how these assholes sleep at night knowing this is the shit they're pulling out, I really don't understand. They are just a soulless bunch of motherfuckers. I'm not saying it's on one individual. It's everyone above a certain degree of authority in this country. The people who have forgotten they are elected to represent us, not to rule us. And they are a bunch of miserable fuckheads. And this decision was so poorly implemented. And there's going to be so much, it wasn't me, it wasn't our fault, and there's going to be so much trying to pass the buck. At the end of the day, yes, it's your responsibility. Fucking grow up, own up, and admit this shit. Admit your kid's a crackhead while we're at it, as long as I'm calling out fucking Sleepy Joe for his problems. And to anybody who wants to fucking get a bent out of shape with me, I didn't like the asshole before he got elected. I didn't like the asshole when he was vice president. I didn't like the asshole when he was a senator passing, the crime bill in 96. And I know a lot of people that listen to podcasts weren't old enough to remember 1996, but that was the first election I voted in. Issues like that were important to me at the time. Fuck that guy. I said it before, I'll say it again. I didn't like the other guy either, but that doesn't mean the people who are sitting there saying, oh, well, this is there's literally no one who can say this is a good thing. I have yet to actually meet anybody who has been a fan of the way this administration has handled shits. They just hated the other guy enough that they're willing to turn a blind eye to what a clusterfuck this last year has been. And, between the mismanagement of the corona outbreak and all this other shit, I say it's been mismanaged. It's been mishandled. There is so much information coming out that it was botched on both sides of the aisle, and it continued to be botched after the administration changed hands. It's not like nothing got fixed. Nothing is better. We're looking at, another session of lockdowns in this country. And so there's no progress. Things have just gotten worse. Scarcity is still on the increase. People don't want to work. We're labor shortages all over the place. There are tons of jobs, but nobody wants to go back to work. And a lot of the jobs that are out there, people are saying, well, you need to pay people better. And yes, a lot of people need to be paid better. They need to make living wages to do certain jobs. Here's the catch to that, though. These jobs are not in any position to offer living wages because they don't have the resources to be functional on a living wage. And with everything being more expensive, the cost of transportation on everything going up, the price of gas going through the fucking roof, goods shortages are not going to stop. Labor shortages are not going to stop because the government is actively building a culture of that people would rather live off the government tit. They want those checks because if they can live better doing nothing than they can live working, I don't blame them. I don't blame people for not saying I'm not going back to a shit job to serve people who don't appreciate me for bullshit money when I can get paid extra money for staying home. The problem is I have a problem with the government doing that because, and I've said this before, the federal government And the local government, the state governments, none of the governments actually produce anything. They don't generate. They do not create. They are supported and funded by the people who do go out there and work, and the people who do go out there and earn and create and make things and produce things. The government lives off a tithe, off a tax. It's supposed to be a symbiotic relationship. They're supposed to provide some value for the money they take from us. The problem is they take a lot more than they provide, and the dynamic is growing every day. And the problem with that is by creating an entire segment of the population that's not working because it's more cost effective for them not to work, you have to take harder from the people that are working. And people are getting fed up with it, and people have been getting fed up with it for years. But the current situation is compounding it, making it grow geometrically. There was a slope, a gradient on the amount of the way inflation was going and the amount of people that were on public aid and things like that. And I'm not saying public aid shouldn't be a thing. As somebody who has had to use it myself, I was unemployed for 9 months last year. I completely appreciate the fact that there is a structure and support system there that helped me keep my lights on and helped me keep food in my fridge so my wife and my kid could still have meals. And I lost my job through no fault of my own. Literally, my job was taken away from me by all the stuff put in place trying to the 15 days to slow the curve. You remember that? Now, personally, I think that's a great thing because it showed us a lot of us don't need to be in the office. And I talked about this before. It's going to keep coming up because it's still the truth. A lot of us work better without some middle manager constantly looking over our shoulder to make sure we're working. A lot of people meet their productivity numbers from home, and they're happier for not having to go to some bullshit office, being around people that they have to be nice to, even if they don't like them because it's their work environment. And I saw something about it, and it was a comic, and it was meant in a joking manner, but it's not wrong. It said, when I work from home, do I still owe them 8 productive hours, or do I only owe them the 3 productive hours they would get if I was in the office? And ultimately, if you're getting the same amount of work done and you're getting it done in 3 hours at home instead of dragging your ass for 8 hours at the office, I'd say they're still getting what they're paying you for, You want to step it up a little bit to show them you working from home is more productive, more power to you. Hopefully that works out for you, and you can leverage that into saying, yes, I get to stay home, or I only have to come into the office 2 days a week, or something like that. I hope that makes most people that can do that able to do that. I hope what I really think is going to happen is they're going to call you back to the office, and then they're going to want to know why they're not getting the same level of productivity out of you that they were getting while you were working from home. And I don't see it in the corporate mindset of understanding that mid-level manager interference is what's causing the problem. And realistically, I hope for everyone that has an office job that can, I hope it works out for you. I really do. Now that I'm in the more office environs, I understand those things, and I appreciate the ability to work from home. But I like my office job. I like the people I work with in my office, so I don't really have a problem with going in. But I digress. Back to the point of the government creating a welfare state. It's really what it is. It's a bunch of people living off of the government dole, and I do not support it. I do not endorse it. And I've seen a lot of things floating around on the internet where people are trying to call out all these rich assholes that are saying things about how they don't understand the common man, and they don't this, that, and the other about these people who are saying they need to bring an end to all these programs that are keeping people from going back to work. Yes, those assholes are wrong because they're saying you should go back to work in the same bullshit conditions you left. They need to realize that they're already rich. They don't need to get richer. They need to adapt their needs a little bit. They'll still be turning a profit if they cut from making $1 million a year to $750,000 a year to take care of their staff. It's not going to be the end of the world for them. And most of these people are not even doing direct labor at this point anymore. It's their money works for them, and they have a lot more time on their hands. Not all of them, but again, we're painting in broad strokes here. But the problem is, and this is one of my issues I have, and it's going to probably stick in some people's craws, and I don't think I have any extremist listeners because they won't see eye to eye with me, and unless they're listening to get angry for some fucking reason, I don't see anybody that listens to me being extreme side of either spectrum. And if you disagree with me, you're more than welcome to contact me. Reach out to me. Leave me a voicemail message. Leave me an email message. Leave me a text message. I don't care. If you got something you want to get off your chest and I really got to you that bad, I'll listen. I'll discuss with you. We can discourse. This does not have to be a one-way communication. But the thing I see about it is, and another reason why I hate the two-party system that we have evolved in this country, it was never meant to be two parties. There were meant to be multiple political parties. There should be multiple political parties. We don't all agree on the shit. We don't all feel the same way about things, and we shouldn't have to pick A or B. But as things stand, the Democratic Party, as much as it pisses people off when they say, oh, well, you're just trying to use this as a justification or something, they have always been the party of trying to get people to be dependent. It's about control. It's not about equality or liberty or any of the other bullshit they try and paint it under. When you are completely dependent on someone for your life, for your livelihood, for your support, for your well-being, when that puts them in the position to make all your decisions for you. That is nothing but control, pure and simple. And to a certain extent, they're not lying about wanting to create equality, but the thing is, they're not trying to create an equality that makes life better for everybody. They've just broadened their scope on slavery from being from one ethnic group or one set of people to they want literally fucking everybody to have to do what they say. It's an economic gun to the head that is going to force compliance. When you can only get your doling of funding or your money, your food, when all that is coming from the state, you cannot do anything other than what the state says, or they will withhold these things from you. They will incarcerate you. They will put you behind bars, and they will tell you it's because you're not following the rules. And people are so quick to jump on board this bandwagon, and whether it's because they're afraid or because they think they're going to accomplish some sort of social betterment without looking at the actual results of other places where this has been tried, and it has never once fucking worked. At least it's never worked out for the people on the lower end of the spectrum, the ones who are receiving from the government instead of the ones who are using the government to take from everyone else. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It's not going to work. And really, if you think it's going to, you're just bullshitting yourself. You're fooling yourself. You need to grow the fuck up. And I guess here we're going to take a break. I'll come back in a minute and kind of wrap up where this is rolling.
Welcome to Pineapple Pizza Podcast,
where we serve up delicious slices of mythology,
cryptozoology,
and urban legends.
I'm Ashley.
To anyone who doesn't know me that well, the fact that I'm laughing right now probably horrifies you. And
I'm Emily. What are the chances?
I don't know.
Like bum bum bum.
50-50? Oh.
And I'm Lindsay.
I banish you to the shadow of death. I corrupt you to the netherworld from which no one has come.
Pineapple Pizza Podcast. Stop on by for a slice, a story, and a laugh. Coming January 2021.
Okay, so thanks for listening to that. Now, the other thing that's on my mind is, even though I promised myself I was going to try and avoid straying too far into the political stuff, I fucking can't anymore. I am fast becoming a middle-aged motherfucker, and maybe it's got something to do with that. I haven't, bought the white New Balances yet, and I don't intend to really do that. Although I hear they are comfortable, but that's not the point. I'm starting to look at the way the world's going, and I've said it before that I despair for the future because the just entitled soft bullshit that a lot of people are exhibiting. But there are young people out there that I actually respect, that actually have some ethic, have some work ethic, some drive. And they may be better informed than my generation was when it comes to certain things and slightly different perspectives. And more able to use all the information that is available to them. A lot of them don't, or a lot of them get very one-sided things. People that think they can say they did research because they watched a bunch of YouTube videos that are nothing but echo chambers to confirm their own bias. And they call that research, and they call anybody that doesn't agree with them either sheep or fucking, arrogant assholes or bastards or whatever. There's not a lot of open-minded discourse going on these days, and I think that's a shame. That's why I always, if you don't agree with me, you're always welcome to get a hold of me, and we will talk. I believe in discourse. I believe that we cannot grow and develop without rational, sane, reasonable discussions. This screaming back and forth at each other across the aisle, that is where, for some reason, our society has decided this is the dividing line. This shit needs to stop. We need to grow up. We need to get better. Now, one of the things towards making that happen is something I was thinking about a lot in light of recent events. Well, it goes back to before the last election. I've been thinking this for quite a while, actually, and I've touched on it before, but I want to go into a little bit deeper thought on this. Why exactly is it we are letting a bunch of motherfuckers that would have aged out from being Walmart greeters run this country? Why do we keep voting for these assholes? Why do we keep electing these motherfuckers? Because theoretically, if the system actually works the way that it's supposed to work, they shouldn't be in there. We should be able to tell them, get fucked, you're not doing the job, you're done. But we have people that are literally within 10 or 15 years of dropping dead, making decisions that are going to, the ramifications and the ripple effects are going to far outlast them. They are going to be dead and gone before any of the checks come due on the decisions they're making, on the policies they're implementing. So they really have no incentive to leave the world a better place than they fucking found it. And it shows. If you can detach yourself from your bias and your stance and your affiliation with whatever political party you're backing, and step back and look at things from a logical perspective for 5 minutes, you'll come to see. That's why I still say the left-wing, right-wing analogy is accurate, because they're both attached to the same fucking turkey. It needs to be addressed. We need to figure out and say as a society, you know what? You're too fucking old to be doing this job, and you're done. We are not going to let you do this anymore. Supreme Court positions should not be lifelong appointments. They should not. The original concept was that would make those people aloof and make them where they could not be. They would be above corruption. They would be above influence, because they didn't have to worry about losing their jobs, and they didn't have to worry about catering and kowtowing to certain groups. The only thing that is actually done through implementation is it made those groups see it as a much longer term purchase when they bought these fucking politicians. And so we need to get out there and become active. We need to restructure a broken fucking system. And unfortunately, nobody wants to hear this, but it's the fucking truth. The left and the right, if we want to survive, if we want to get through this, everybody's going to have to get together and say, you minimalistic 1% motherfuckers, you tiny, tiny fraction of this country are not holding the reins anymore. We are holding you accountable. We are all calling you the fuck out. Without a little unity, without a little bit of, you can't do this to us anymore, it's never going to change. It's never going to get better. We're going to keep getting fucked over. The common person in here is so disposable to the ones that are actually running shit. And this last election, there were so many improprieties and there were so many things gone wrong, and both sides were calling each other out and saying it was, regardless of how it works, the system is flawed. The system is broken. There has been these audits have proven that shit was mismanaged and mishandled. Votes were counted multiple times for the same ballot, counted 2 or 3 times, and the whole thing is fucked. And I don't understand why we allow this shit to go on. We live in an age where you can go out and pick up a phone call and vote for a television show, and the votes are tallied within 20 minutes of real time. They run a few commercials and they come back with the results. There should be no reason why an election that determines the course and the handling and the helming of this country can't be handled as well as a fucking TV program. So maybe we need to step up. Maybe we need to get the septuagenarians out of fucking control and into retirement where they should fucking be. If they don't if they don't trust people of a certain age with saying, "Hi, here's your shopping cart," why in the fuck are they allowed to make policy for how the country is run? They've proven time and again they are no more worthy of the public trust than anybody younger or anybody less experienced. All they are is old and cranky and embattled. They are dug in and entrenched. They're fucking ticks. They will not leave because they don't want to leave their blood source. They don't want to stop feeding off the public. They think they deserve it. They think they are entitled to it. People that want to talk about the entitlement of the younger generation. How about the entitlement of the 75 fucking year old politicians who haven't done a day's honest work in over a generation that still somehow are clinging to it like they have a right? And why are we still voting for these assholes? Why are we accepting when they're coming out saying, well, there were more votes turned in than there are people that live in this district, but we're going to call this a valid election? Why are we accepting this shit? We are so much of a bigger number and with so much of a force than these assholes have on their best day. And people are saying, oh, well, you can't fight the military. Here's the thing. If we don't try and fight the military, we try and convince, and I'm not trying to spark a revolution or any of that shit, so whatever FBI agent's assigned to my case, I'm not trying to stir shit up. I'm calling for a political action that needs to happen. We're on a fucking death march right now, and I'm tired of people treating it like it's a tin hat theory. It's not. The way things are going, this planet is going to be devoid of life a lot sooner than later. It's an economic issue. It's an environmental issue. It's the people who are running shit don't care because they're going to be dead before it happens. They don't have a lot of incentive to carry on and to think forward. They're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about their immediate future, and that's all that they fucking think about, and it shows. And they have such a low opinion of the common population, and I don't blame them. I have a low fucking opinion of most people too, because most people have proven that's what they deserve. But the capacity is there, the potential's there. We could be so much better than we fucking are. And instead, we're so busy at fighting with each other and arguing over shit that doesn't matter, that the stuff that does matter falls by the wayside. And it's encouraged. It's egged on. It is another form of control. It is people in the seats of power saying, yeah, you know what? Fight each other. Don't look over here. Don't see what we're doing. Stay asleep. Stay fucking under thumb where you belong because you're peasants and we're better than you. We own you. You are here for us. This country was founded on the principle that, no, we are fucking not here for you. We are here for us. And we need to remember that. We need to get back to that. We need to tell these motherfuckers, your time is done. Leave gracefully or leave by force, but you're fucking leaving. And I guess for now, that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode of I Had to Say It. If you liked what you heard, leave a review, give us a follow, give me some feedback. And if you didn't like what you heard, leave a review, give me a follow, give me some feedback. I'll try and fix it. Check us out on all the social media platforms. At I Had to Say It podcast is the trigger for all that stuff, for the search term. And if you want, check out the website, www.ihadtosayitpodcast.com. There's links to people that have been involved with the program, things I've talked about. There are some links available for some merch that we're working on, and there are ways to contact us there as well. And thanks for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.